I want the St. Louis region to thrive. I want families and businesses to feel safe, and it has not been an easy few months for this department. In March, I was proud to sign House Bill 495, which included 25 provisions to benefit St. Louis and the entire state, with increases for penalties for violent crimes like sex trafficking of a child and stunt driving. And in that same bill, it placed a citizen-led board to oversee the St. Louis Metropolitan Police Department. This legislation was part of our Safer Missouri crime plan, which law enforcement helped us craft to help support the men and women in this department and across the state. I'd like to thank city legislators who work with us on this legislation. We don't always agree on everything, but we all agree on supporting the men and women of this department and working for a safer St. Louis. I have been in close communication this session with Senator Roberts and Senator Carla May, and they understand these appointments are be announcing today, and I hope, and I asked them to watch what this board does, because one of those two senators will be their sponsors when the gubernatorial hearing process comes before us in our next legislative session in January. We recently appointed Derek Winters to his transition director. And you know, we went back and forth on, many people in this room, especially my friends in the media, asked a lot about the transition director. How come we're not getting somebody sooner? We kind of went full circle. I took some advice from some former elected officials in the city who were elected officials under state control. The chief of Kansas City, retired Rick Smith, who worked under state control, on what that transition director would be. And we redefined it from being like a full-time job for a year to somebody who needs to come in and get things set up so the board can make the governance decisions. That's who you want to govern the board, not the transition director, and he's doing a great job. We want him to make sure the setting is right for the board to do what they need to do, and I appreciate Derek being willing to do that, and I think you're going to find him a guy that is going to work very hard. I'm confident that Derek will do a great job working hand in hand with the men and women of the board to ensure this is a smooth and orderly transition. So once again, thank you, Derek, for your efforts. Today we took selecting opponents for this board very seriously and wanted to ensure that we chose respected voices from across the city who support the men and women of the St. Louis Metropolitan Police Department. First, I want to thank every St. Louisan who reached out to my office to serve on the board. We had lots of applications. The interest was significant, and we believe this reflects the excitement and renewed commitment to removing politics from policing through this board of St. Louis citizens. And I believe these appointments mark a significant move towards transparency, collaboration, and a safer future for the city. Finally, I'd like to assure the men and women of the St. Louis Metropolitan Police Department that this action is to support them and their chief. The chief is the chief. He and his command staff will run the city department. The board is not going to run crime fighting. The board is going to be there to support the governance of this, and the chief and his team have done a great job.
Governor, for the residents of the city of St. Louis who don't agree with the decision to have a state-run board, what's your message to them today?
Well, it worked from the Civil War until approximately 2013. It still works very well in the Kansas City area. We've taken some learning lessons from that. And I think anytime you can take politics out of crime fighting and out of community safety and really let residents of that community be the voices of what's good governance, I think that St. Louis residents should be comforted in knowing that they really have a non-partisan, non-political board working with the men and ladies of the police department.